All right. Well, happy Friday, October 21st, everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours. I am Dale Ziegler, and along with me, my usual partners in crime, Squire Kirshner and Joy Shutters-Helding. Say hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. You can follow any of us on our Twitter handles up there in the upper right of the slide, as well as the MVP Office Hours handle. We have a site with registration info, mvpofficehours.info. We do also have that email address, but spoiler alert, you're going to get an out-of-office reply that says, hey, why don't you take it on over to the success community so that everyone can jump in and help. So we have the success group as well, which we have a couple of our posts staged and ready to go. But anybody, it's a public group that anybody with Trailhead credentials can get to. So feel free to join and post or answer or weigh in on the conversation, whatever you think feels right. We are back on our normal schedule, first and third Friday of the month. And our next call will be in 2 weeks on November 4th, the first Friday of November. This is an open Q&A. Bring your questions about any issues you're experiencing, questions you have about an upcoming release or something you read in the release notes or rumors that you heard, whatever. But it's open Q&A, and we are not afraid to get super technical with it. Registration is always available at that static bit.ly. You can access our YouTube recordings either from the community link from our Twitter page or the YouTube channel directly. And if you post, please just use one of our favorite hashtags there. Welcome to all current and future MVPs because, well, everyone's an MVP. You all are awesome and we love having you here. Everyone, feel free to participate as much as you would like. You don't have to be an MVP to answer. Sometimes we have the MVPs asking the questions. If you know the answer, speak up. We're here to help each other. We can use the chat to share links and other resources. And if we catch them in time, we'll post them up on the screen during the call. We'll then also share them in this deck, which we will share after the call sometime this weekend. If you have a question, you can either put it in the chat and get in line that way, or if there's dead air, say, hey, I have a question. Either way, we're going to try and keep it as first in, first out as possible. You can share your screen, but please, please, please do not show a production instance. Show us a sandbox or a dev org or some other thing. But because we are recording this, we do not want to put your company's or your client's production information out on the internet for forever and ever and ever. And also, if you cannot be recorded or are not comfortable being recorded, please jump off, but we will have the recording posted sometime this weekend along with all of the resources.
Can I add one more thing in there really quick? I was going to add a bullet, but in addition to the recording thing, I was reminded a week or two ago by a friendly cohort that it is recorded, which also means even though this is a safe space, all of our commentary about Salesforce or where we work or the users we work with should stay above the line as much as we can. It would be awful for us to just be honest about our frustration and have that somehow show up negatively against our, the people that might listen to it or see it. Internet's forever. So we usually are, but let's just make sure that we always stay that way too. So.
I think someone gave me too much fun today. Like I've been off I've been ridiculous all day.
It's great.
Ridiculous is great. And we assume that.
Yeah. We're here to help. We're here to have fun. We're here to be people first. But yes, absolutely great point, Squire. Let's keep it professional. At least we can be professional and informal at the same time. So.
Absolutely.
Community events. I know a handful of people who are actually in Morocco right now, kind of jealous of them for North Africa Dreamin'. Florida Dreamin' coming up next week. Mar Dreamin', Kosovo Dreamin', and Wit Dreamin', all in Wit Dreamin' in India, which that sounds really cool. All coming up here in the next few weeks. And then Salesforce Events World Tour in New York and TDX I don't know, are they still allowed to call it TDX now that it's Trailblazer DX or whatever?
Is it
Uh,
TBDX? Is that, I don't, tuberculosis? I don't, no doxing, like, I don't know.
Well, okay. Whew. Anyway, it's great to see events back in person. If you have any interest in any of those, they are super easy to find on Salesforce's pages. And then also local groups. If you're not a member of a user group, definitely go find one, which you can find here. It's a great way to just network, hang out with, validate that you are not the only one in your locale who is doing the same thing that you're doing. And more of those groups are going back in person. So it's a great way to meet other people, definitely get connected. And so check out those links as well. And so with that, we'll dive into, we had a couple of posts in the success group. The first one was from Tony. I think we closed the last call with this one, talking about transferring chat with logic for reassignment across queues. I know Jake is on here because we threw over the fence to him. Is Tony on?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Jake, thank you for jumping in, sir. We saw your guidance on it. Identify it needs to be transferred to.
Yeah, the short story is that she can't do what she needs to do within the flow.
Okay.
Because the logic that she needs is actually in the Omni flow, not in a Salesforce flow. So they don't know who to transfer to because it's not in their current screen.
Mm-hmm.
And can you, I saw that you had an update, Jake, but let's see, what we were reading suggested that you could still submit a chat back to a flow from a button, but it doesn't work that way.
I don't think you can submit it to an Omni flow is what the issue is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All their logic is being pulled from another source. And I don't think they have access to that outside of the initial when it comes through.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Would you say that her last post was that they were able to write some code to handle it? Was that where you probably going to end up at as well? I mean, we tend to rely on you as our
Probably
one.
that's what I would have done in that scenario, unless they have another way of calling out to that external source to get that data.
Cool. All right. Well, we appreciate you jumping on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was a strange one. Well, not strange, a different use case than I'm used to seeing.
Right. Kind of complex, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I totally missed that you said Omni flow in the beginning.
All right. And then our other question, do we have Diane on?
I'm here.
Hi, Diane. How's it
Hello.
going? The
I'll
floor is
just
yours, my
say-
friend.
I'll just say Steve Mullis to the rescue once again for me. I think he's been helping me since 2006 when I started using Salesforce.
Awesome.
So what? Yeah, his little formula there helped, which is awesome.
And so for catching us up, like 30-second elevator pitch. What problem were you trying to solve?
Well, we use the community for our customers to log cases, and currently they have no way of like showing just their cases, like the contact on the case.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't use like, you can normally use like my reports or my team's reports, right? They don't have that functionality in the community and reporting. So we needed a way to say, this is my case based on the contact. So that what he proposed works. I think there might be a little something not right about it at some point. We'll have to find out, but what it's essentially doing is it's making sure the person logged in's email matches the contact's email.
Mm-hmm.
So technically that should always work, except for maybe some of our really small customers where they may be using, I don't know, a personal email. So we'll have to see how that goes. That shouldn't really be happening, but we'll just have to see how that goes.
You could also just use the contact ID that matches the contact ID on the community user record. They have an exact match.
Right. Right.
And I guess I have the Service Cloud certification, so I feel like I should know this, but I always thought cases were kind of special that once you pivoted over to the community, the my looked at the contact instead of the owner. Is that not the case?
I have not found that to be true because
Oh.
we have list views where we've had to modify the list views as well. We actually haven't gotten the list views to work for them. They have three choices, either all the cases, all the open cases, or all the closed cases. And the only way that we can get it to, show their own is to tell them to sort the contact field and then just scroll down to theirs.
Well, okay.
Are you talking about a list view like in the community for them viewing their own cases that they're a contact on?
Right.
You can make a formula that's where the contact is that same person.
Yep.
And
So
then
that's
have-
what, right. That's what someone helped me with. This was for reporting, but I'm going to see if I can do that exact same thing with the list views as well.
100% you can do it and it works.
Right. And what I'm saying though is I thought the native contact lookup, once you got to community, replaced the case owner for my, so that you wouldn't need to do a formula. So apparently that's not it. So, okay.
No, because I think you can also still be an owner. You can be a community member and also own your own case. So if they change the my, then you'd have an issue if you were the owner and not the contact.
Right.
Yeah, we don't allow that, but I could see that where that some people that would be the case. So
Right.
yeah, so I'm good.
Cool. Steve Moe for the 38,465th beer he has on his tab.
Yeah, I'm in debt for a long time now.
All right. Good rolling start. All right. Who is up next?
We have Matt in the chat.
Okay.
There's a question about inline editable list view to a record. Matt, do you want to expand on that?
Yes, I know that you can add related records, related list views. I was going to see if anyone knew a way to make them, inline editable, like the way like a standalone list view might be.
Are you talking about a related list?
Yeah, like a related list.
Okay.
That's not even something I've considered.
I know I've seen it in App Exchange packages and obviously in a custom solution, but I don't know about out of the box.
I'm under the impression you can't edit out of the box related list views.
There's an idea in the idea exchange.
I don't even think the enhanced list views give you inline editing. But if you want to use our expense data table component and build your own list view on a screen flow, then it would be inline editable.
No, that's
Actually,
exactly what I was thinking.
I actually,
Michelle?
I actually did that. So I that's how they create the related records. But I can go into the explanation, but for like ease of use, going back into the flow to edit is not ideal, mostly because it's a little bit too wide. And I do like that component, but basically on the flow, I broke it into multiple screens. So they're like catching like pieces of it at a time. But so for creation, it works perfectly. Then to edit it, it's like too wide to fit into a single screen. So it's kind of a burden to do via a flow.
When you say wide, meaning like there's too many columns to interact with?
Too many columns to interact with, yeah.
But would a list view solve that? Because you still have that same limitation in a list view. It's
Well,
only as
just the
wide
way
as area.
the way that it actually like presents, the table component is awesome. but it's a little bit narrower than when you have like a full screen list view where you can see everything and edit everything. So upon creation, breaking it up into multiple screens isn't a problem because it's like I'm putting it in for the first time. I don't have to see all the other columns while I'm editing it. But on the list view page, you can actually see all, up to 15 columns at one time and still make edits on that same page. You can do that with the table component, but realistically, it's not possible to see 15 columns.
What about a report button and inline edit from a report? You could run it from the page and it would pop up in a modal.
That's a good idea. How do you get a report that's based on the record?
So I think we can hack the report URL with a parameter again, can't we? Didn't we get that back a couple releases ago?
Don't even need to do that.
Put a chart.
Yeah, put a report chart on the page, and if you build it properly, it auto filters it by the record ID of the record you're on.
But does that help if it's not chartable? Like, don't you create noise on your page?
How do you build it to refer to the record?
Which piece, the chart or the report?
The report.
Well, I tell you what, let's just to close the loop. So, I mean, putting a chart on the page, you understand how that one works, right?
Yes.
That's easy. Sorry, maybe I lost you. Did you respond?
Yes, I know how to add a chart. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I just wanted to make sure. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually do that. So that would work if it's chartable, because you're limited to the types of charts that can even be displayed on the record page component, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So then from the report button or the report perspective, you can do something like in the old days, and that's the thing we have to verify. Dale, you got something up, but you can pass a parameter to the link, or at least you could in the old days, and it would know the page ID, like the record ID of the thing you're on, and then would send it to the parameter of the report to run it. Dale, you were bringing something up. You want to talk about something?
I'm just sharing links that Michelle and Jake put in the chat. But I would say keep going with your thought here on the report parameters. And Stu has his hand raised as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since I did one. I don't remember if we still can, but if anybody knows, it'd be Stu or Jake or Michelle or any of the other MVPs on the call.
Yeah, what Andrew just posted.
Andrew loves posting things. Thank you, Andrew. Back in the day,
Called Classic, yes.
I put a chart on a page or on a section of a page in order to filter it. I believe I did this, and then I hid it using filtered parameters. So it was still there, but you couldn't see it, and it still worked. Is that even plausible? Am I insane? Am I talking?
It depends which report it's going to, because if it's a new Lightning report, that's got different parameters. But if you kept it in Classic, the parameters still remain. So if the report never got moved to Classic, it stayed that those parameters stayed the same. But
yeah. But in the current process, that probably would not work.
You can do it in the current process. They're just different parameters.
Okay, it was like PO versus FV, right?
Yeah, the PO parameter that you would pass it, right?
Yeah. So Matt, I want to take a step back. So what is the actual need for solving this?
Yeah, I mean, I can go through it, but it is a valid need. I know this is always the question, why do they need this? Essentially, this is a project that's replacing an Excel spreadsheet. And in this particular case, an Excel spreadsheet functionally is better. So I'm trying to minimize how much worse it is doing in Salesforce. because they get data. Basically, our procurement team gets data from third-party resources who provide the data in disparate formats. And so they have to get the data and then put it into a format that works for what we need to output. And so Excel's just, like a lot of times, Excel's easier to manipulate. And so if I can get it to the point where they can make edits in line, it will at least be similarly easy to use as, like, say, an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. And it's the users who are making all of these updates.
Users are making the updates, yeah.
Okay.
And for initial entry, it's fine. The table works actually quite well because there's actually some benefit to the flow where it can, like, auto populate certain fields, so they don't even have to put it in. So in a way, like, the flow actually is a little bit superior to an Excel, because instead of having to enter, say, a vendor which would be like a lookup field on all these records, they can enter it one time. And then that applies to all, say, 15 records that would be on the table. So there's some benefits on the initial entry, but then there's a phase where we then have to go back in and make edits, not all the time, but sometimes the way they initially entered it is not correct. And so when they go back in to edit it, they need to be able to see the full view of each record and make the edits, sometimes in mass. And so, like, a report actually, like Shire's recommendation would work, right? Because then you could see everything on one page. And since you can make edits in reports now, yeah, that would be a great way to do it. If there was, like, a reasonably quick way to get to that report, that would actually be a great solution. And also that the Cafe Force looks really like an awesome option too. A little bit of coding. I'll be stretching my capabilities, but I'll definitely give it a look. Looks functionally like it would do what we would want it to do.
Chris, that's a great suggestion. Would an App Exchange grid tool work? Yeah, have you looked at App Exchange yet?
I kind of don't know how to search, but if there's any recommendations, I'm totally willing to check them out for sure.
What would be some keywords that Matt might be able to use, folks?
I just Google searched Salesforce grid tools and App Exchange with a couple of them popped up.
Yeah, there's the enhanced lightning grid, but that one doesn't have editing in it. So, yeah.
I do want to kind of make the shout out that, well, it goes without saying, but if App Exchange isn't like checkbox number 3 on your solution decision plan when you're trying to make, like, when you're like, well, I can't do it declaratively or not clearly, and I think I can probably write something with code. App Exchange should be high in your list. You get comfortable with it. There's so many great tools and options, even from Salesforce Labs, that can help with a lot of these things. I add that to your list.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Salesforce Labs is they, if you, like, at Twitter mention them, they will see you, they'll hear you, they'll respond to you. If you're looking for help with something that you think might already exist.
By the way, that's a great booth to talk to, by the way, if you're at a Dreamforce or TDX, the Salesforce Labs collective, they're awesome. You should say hi to them anytime you get a chance.
One other thing, if you are trying to get support for a Labs app, go in the reviews of the app and look for people who left a bad review, and then look at who commented on a couple of the bad reviews, because that's who owns it generally, and they don't actually support it. But if you go mention them in, like, the Trailblazer community and you tag the same person who also was commenting, you can generally get them to respond, because they only look at, like, bad reviews, but you're better off just posting and tagging them because they'll get an email. Don't leave a bad review. They don't like that as much.
Who does? But good point.
Yeah, the other thing you could do, since you are familiar with flows, you could go to unofficial SF and get their data table package, which allows the inline editing of your components. So you can basically create a grid that you can inline edit and makes changes to.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. That I actually do have that installed. So that for creation of the records, that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's just that component, which is awesome, is it can't display enough fields for the editing part of it. So for creation, I broke it into multiple pages, which works great. But for editing, it's too hard to see everything on one page because it's like very squished together.
You can see I
Right.
use it go exactly for this exact use case though.
So I'm gonna throw out, I know you're trying to get rid of Excel, but like how many fields across how many records are being updated in a single transaction? Or in a single sitting, I guess.
It's around 20 per record. So the records are like pieces of equipment, and the equipment is a child and a master detail up to what we call a program. So program is the parent record, and the
Mhm.
program is comprised of equipment records that have, I mean, in total they have about 50 fields, but at any one time you would update like 20. The problem is upon an editing, you need to be able to see almost all of those.
So there's a part of me that kind of wonders, do you have Conga or draw loop?
No, don't have those.
Gotcha. Like the thing with, I mean, I totally get the why and everything, but that's a lot of things being updated like in a single, in a single sitting that I would really love. I personally would love to investigate how potentially a data loader piece fits into this. That I know you're trying to get rid of Excel, but maybe it needs to stay in Excel because of all of the multiple touch points. Conga can give you the export of those records and potentially hack up a import data wizard solution where users could technically be allowed to import to a custom object or something that consumes that spreadsheet data to then make the updates without giving them data loader access. But that might get kind of cumbersome. But there's also part of Salesforce doesn't love the I need to update here. There's a balance in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. A lot of good ideas. By the way, that the component you have up, when I first installed it, I was having problems. And to everyone's point about reaching out to people, I reached out to Eric Smith directly on LinkedIn, and he directly responded and helped me figure it out. So kudos to him.
Yeah,
Very
he's a
cool.
rock star. Yeah. I have one more question, and I think you probably answered it, but I just want to say it one more time. I feel really uncomfortable with 30 columns of X number of records being updated from any grid. And if you were to take for a moment, like if you pull back, is there anything you can do about the why they're doing those updates that could improve the process overall? So like,
Yeah, I think if you saw the Excel spreadsheet, it would make sense, and without killing you with all the details. Basically, this is waste management. So like we're a middleman for companies, and we basically, like, if you think about a mall has like tons of trash compactors and things like that behind the
Right.
mall. So say the mall has 10, 15, 20 trash cans, dumpsters, compactors behind their thing. Each one of those pieces of equipment, because it's kind of like a cell phone or a cable bill, there's like tons of hidden fees involved.
okay,
And each one of those fees is negotiable. So what we do as a company is we work with the mall. The mall is our client. The people who actually haul the trash away are our client, or we're their client. And so we're trying to negotiate each one of these cell phone bill, fees and taxes and everything like that. And so for each piece of equipment, there is typically a base haul rate, a base disposal rate, an environmental surcharge, administrative fee, like all these different things. And each one of those things is negotiable by us. And so
Okay.
if we can say, get the environmental surcharge from 2% down to 3% on the compactors, that might be, say, 7 of 20 pieces of equipment that we could then update from 3% to 2%. Or we might be able to get the haul rate on the dumpsters from $140 per ton down to $130 per ton. So those 9 pieces of equipment, we would then update that haul rate for.
And I think that's what I'm thinking about, like, holistically, and then we can move on. I mean, like, I know there's way more going on, but like, is it a situation where you'd be like, I need to make a global change, pick the product, pick the column, pick the adjustment, and it makes multiple changes for you at once in that sort of flow, versus seeing the records and finding row 7, 10, 16 and changing column 4.
I know what you mean, and I think it makes sense. I think from a user experience, it would be similar to using like the flow again and go through multiple tables to update it. Those are all good solutions. None of them are bad ideas. I don't think it would necessarily like make it like the quick update, but I think it would solve the problem. I'd essentially have to take them to another page, identify what the thing is that they were changing, and then apply it to several pieces of equipment in a single update. And that does make sense. Hey, that may be a good way to do it too.
And then last idea, could you do it via console? Would it be quicker if you could open each child record in console and never leave?
I haven't messed around with console, so it could be a great idea. I don't know much about it.
Okay.
I love console. I just showed it to one of my stakeholders and they got like all excited about it. I was like, oh, it's coming. It's coming.
I'll check it out. Thank you guys, everyone, for the input. A lot of good stuff.
That's a good question, Matt. The next thing we have on our list is Andrew asking if he can show org 62. I don't know the official answer to that. Or
It
why.
depends on what the question
Oh,
is.
that was just a joke. Since
Oh.
someone said we're not allowed to show production org, so I offered org 62. I
Delete.
can put my password in chat though.
No, okay.
Oh.
Ha, 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 ha. All right, Katie, you were asking for help with a formula in flow. Sometimes I'm so silly, I don't catch the jokes. So thank you, Andrew.
Can I share my screen?
You sure can. Let me just find the button here. Hold on.
I bet you guys hammer this out. So it'll be great.
We got some flow, pros. We got some formula pros. We got lots of. You put a hat on, Katie.
I've had it on since Ohana Coffee.
Katie, it sounds like something that we can debate. You queued it up as if it's a battle that we're gonna have,
What do you mean?
which I always love, a formula field battle. Bring it on.
May the strongest formula win. Okay, do you guys see my sandbox
yeah.
flow formula
sure.
builder? Okay, so here's the deal. Moving my processes over to flow, right? And do you see my process builder?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've got this awesome, and I'm still, learning formulas. I've got the basics down. I can whip up a basic formula pretty quickly. And it may not be the cleanest way to get there, but it gets the job done. And so I did this particular formula right here where you can see it, the market basket plus the text, month, day, year, and it returns pretty much a date stamp on the subject line of the case for naming conventions. So I'm just putting that in my flow. I'm like making a resource for my formula to pop in there for my update records. And I put the same exact formula in there and I'm getting an error message. And I feel like there's a better way to do this, but I don't know why what was working in processes formula builder isn't working in flows formula builder.
Did
Data
you?
type's not selected. Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Can you change that or is that grayed out?
Can I change what?
The box right above formula is data type. It says select. Up there, yeah. And if you put in text.
Do I win?
But Katie, I'm gonna give you some credibility on this one here. That was super weird though. I don't love this, Salesforce.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't love how you had nothing selected there. And then when you did the check syntax,
It
it
went to
said,
the
we're
formula.
expecting a number. Why
No.
were you expecting a
It-
number?
Well,
Well,
the
it
check-
It should have pointed you up and said, you have a missing box.
the check
Exactly.
syntax-
Instead of that message that says you have a missing box, go fix your box.
Right.
Yeah.
This to me, like, I love Lightning and I hate Lightning. Lightning became way too like clean that there was no way.
Well, it's a required field and that should have been the first valid, like
Yeah.
red flag. And
Yep.
so I am just gonna take that as a win because it was not a formula thing that I
Right.
figured out.
Well,
I
it,
mean,
it referenced text, which is in the field.
My
builder.
Well, but you
That's
can-
where we're,
you can manipulate text and numbers to text numbers all you want within a formula. It's not going to assume just because there's text, it's text, because you could try to grab the value out of that. It's Salesforce, you missed something here of, I need to know what my data type is first before I can even let you begin to try this. And then it made an assumption that you're trying to do a number.
Yeah,
So this is
yeah,
like
that
a
was the other
bomb.
thing, is it defaulted it to number,
Right.
which is kind of
Oh.
odd.
Yeah,
I did-
not all
Well, it's not
formulas are numbers.
calculus. It's a formula. It's not
well, I'm
calculus.
on a roll today because I didn't activate my flow that I was testing, and then this.
We've all done that. Like,
That's all right.
welcome to the
Sometimes-
pros.
Sometimes solo admins just need another set of eyes, Katie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes solo admins just need another set of eyes. And that's why we're here. So-
Is Market Basket a number?
No, it's
Hi.
it's like a type of case, basically.
If you check the metadata reference, like inside of for the metadata on the developer website, it says data type defaults to number if it isn't defined in a formula. So it says that it defaults it to number.
That's interesting.
Well,
Ooh.
okay,
Gotta default
that's
to something,
fine.
right?
They've called it out, but what I still don't love from a UI perspective is that before you actually selected text, the select value or whatever, it's the same font color, it's the same font size, it's the same font type. Like, that is really easy to cruise right past and miss.
what I
that
did.
Now it's which we did, which is now very ambiguous that you're rendering the default error of number. That is a bad user
The
experience.
default should have been selected as number then.
That or don't let the person put in the formula until they've said, this is my data type.
So red flags all around, but we got
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was, boy, okay. Andrew and I can go off and be nerdy about it. That's a strongly typed variable then, which is interesting because if that Market Basket started out as not number, other languages would have looked at that and said, oh, it's starting out as text. I'm going to make this a text variable or a text formula.
I
Isn't that
also think
MB
that-
already, wasn't that MB already a variable?
No, it's just the.
No, no,
text,
it's just
start the subject line. I think there's also something, Katie, when you're going through and in your brain, you're like, oh no, I'm gonna make a text thing for the subject line that's a text field. Like you just think that the computer is smarter than that.
And it's going to be
Right?
That's
text.
gonna
Yeah.
follow along
Yeah.
with you. It's gonna be
Right.
text. And so I think that's part of it, but.
Yep.
Are we ready to move along, everybody?
Just
Yeah.
be happy that it didn't delete everything in the formula area when you change the data type. Cause like
yeah.
been there, you write something
Uh-huh.
out big, you
Yeah, but
change
now
it,
we
like
have
we
it
log
recorded.
a case with Salesforce, and then you type it out and you change the type, deletes all of your body of your case.
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right, let's see. Next up, we got Sarah, who had a question about enhanced domains, but is super willing to take it offline with other experts. So it's 1:41. Do you want to take that for a longer ride, Sarah, another time, or do we go on to an architecture question for opportunities in sales?
Yeah, go ahead to the architecture question. We'll have a
All right, we'll come back
enhanced
to
domain
Sarah because I think it's
masterclass
going to be a
another time.
quick win with Mary. Mary, are you still on?
I'm here. Thank you. I hope it's a quick win. So my situation is like a data model question. I use Sales Cloud and Salesforce. We use accounts and opportunities, but now we're working more with things called collectives, which are like, I don't know how to describe, it's like an umbrella organization. So I work at a consulting firm. We get hired to run a project. You can almost think of it like an association, And so we have multiple accounts who are contributing to that. So there's the umbrella, and then there's multiple accounts that are giving us money to support the umbrella. I don't have a good way to represent this in Salesforce right now. The way I've done it in the past is like, I make all the opportunity names have the same thing, and then I can kind of roll them up in a report. What I think about sometimes is the nonprofit household system, where there's like the household and then things happen inside it. If you're familiar with that. But anyway, that's what I'm struggling with. And we're getting more of these. They're becoming more popular, so I have to represent them in a smarter way. And I'm wondering if anyone has ideas about that.
But sorry, I have a clarification question. So is it about the hierarchy of these related accounts, or is it a hierarchy of opportunities to an account?
It's wanting to track two different things at the same time, like, or multiple things. So one thing we're wanting to track is the umbrella, what's happening with the umbrella. And then we want to track the accounts that are contributing that through opportunities. Does that make any sense?
I think so. So the umbrella is still just a parent account to the list of accounts?
Well, I don't have an umbrella yet. I'm trying to build an umbrella that will bring all these things together. Otherwise, I would end up with a parent umbrella account that has lots of things going to it. And then also trying to track that on the individual accounts. I want to know who gave us the money for that. And I don't know how to make those things cross. And I don't want to duplicate them.
Sure.
I don't want to say, oh, we got $10,000 from this company and that's being tracked over there, and counting it sort of in the umbrella. That might make it more confusing. Sorry.
That's okay. Is the umbrella always connected to the so let's use proper nouns just so I can speak to it. So rather than umbrella, and so like you've got an opportunity generating funds for Apple, and Apple's umbrella is tree.
Mm-hmm.
And is that always true?
No, we can have other ones with it.
So Apple could be tree and could be the house and could be the car and could be the whatever. Okay.
Yep.
So it's not a direct parental roll up. So this
Correct.
makes me think that you have to track your opportunities like you normally would to a parent account, but then relate it to the umbrella account and just roll up information, like have a lookup on opportunity to the parent. Does anybody want to jump in here and support decline? Right. I mean, you're basically relating this to two firms or two accounts, right?
It sounds so much like
Like
account
partners. Yeah.
relationships.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I want to hear Sarah's thought on campaigns, because that's
Yeah.
intriguing.
I'm not sure that it would work, especially if you're going from accounts, because campaigns are more designed for contacts, I think. But the idea of like, okay, this account belongs to this campaign, which is umbrella 1. It also belongs to this other campaign, which is umbrella 2. And the opportunities roll up to 1 and to 2, but they're not counted twice in your system. They're only counted once under that one account.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would do it, probably.
Okay. Yep.
Diane, you can now relay an account to a campaign.
You can totally relate an account to a campaign. So it's not just context. But I would, you said
Oh, yeah,
something,
it's
Mary.
new.
You said something, Mary, about not wanting to get the streams crossed between your account structure and these giving structures. I wouldn't worry about that so much, because you are like, if you want to make one big report or list of all of that stuff, I don't think that's the way you need to think about it. You might have one list or report that's your account structure in the hierarchy of all of those, umbrella, or I would call it parent, grandparent, parent, child accounts. And then another one that talks about the funding and where that funding's come from. And you'd use campaigns and opportunities to really understand that. And you can relate all of those things. And I think I think Sarah's right, that campaign is where you start with that.
Okay.
So can I ask both of you, but all you're doing is using a campaign as a joiner and fighting through the campaign architecture. What benefits are you getting outside of that relationship?
Well, I would think the campaign is where you would see the roll up of how much all the different accounts are contributing to whatever you want to call your umbrella. So instead of the umbrella being its own account, it's a campaign.
And I get that, except that why campaign? If you're not getting any benefits from the campaign object except
I see.
relating an opportunity to a campaign, it could be any object, right?
Yeah, it could be a custom object.
So, but I just mean like, what could you see? What else could you use it for? Like extend that.
Right. Right. It's a good thought.
Will there be any kind of
Ah.
communications that go to these collectives that campaigns might assist with?
Yeah, campaigns have source, boy. Now I have to pull my head back into 5 years ago, but they have like other things source code on them. I mean, yes, you could do all of that in a custom built junction object, I guess, but why are you from an architectural stance, don't you use what Salesforce has given you? I'm not sure that I would rebuild what already exists in campaigns.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to get you to answer for me is, other than saying this opportunity is connected to this campaign, which I'm now calling my umbrella, what else do you get from that campaign object? And why would you do that? Like, I agree, don't rebuild the wheel if you don't have to. But if that's all it's doing is you just have a parent object that you can roll opportunities to a different thing, how is that different than relating it to a different account as well, or relating it to a custom
Yeah.
object as well? That's all I'm
It's
asking.
doing the math for you now.
Say again?
It's doing the math now, so you don't have to do all those calculations. So that's one thing. So that's automation you don't have to build.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could give
So that,
If you've
member
got that,
accounts different statuses, if that was important.
and if you've got like tax
Mhm.
codes and things like that set up in your campaigns, you could set up source codes in the campaigns. So you could have that kind of structure already in there so that you know which campaigns go with which
GAU.
initiatives and yeah, that sort of things.
yeah.
Mm.
And you can clone them. You can also relate campaigns. So if you have like two umbrellas that maybe are tied together, you could easily do that.
I mean, yeah, campaigns do have some weirdness to them with like campaign members and managing all that. So like if you don't need to use all of that, maybe it is simpler to go with a
Yeah, I
custom
mean,
junction object, but
you do pick up that baggage because it's now two objects you have to work with versus just if you're going to use one for
Yeah.
that junction.
Yeah, and I shouldn't have said junction because it's still just a parental relationship, either a lookup or a master detail to a parent, whether you create a custom or you link it to campaign. But I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something huge. Like, you're right, like it does roll ups, right? Opportunity or campaign, what is that called?
Influence.
Thank you, influence, right? Like that's there. But if it's just rolling up a value from a child, does it do it any differently? I just am asking lots of whys, not no's.
I do wish, I think Stuart said grandparent, and that's exactly, I need a grandparent. But yeah, I think campaigns could work.
But I would,
And
just to clarify that though, you don't want a grandparent because the grandparent changes
oh,
campaign to campaign, doesn't it? It's not my grandparent, it's just like a teacher or something, right?
yeah, I meant like a parent. I've got the parent. I need the next level up.
Yeah.
To make a connection. So I will definitely look at campaigns to do that and think about if it should just be a custom object.
yeah, I think
And you can actually do on the account side, you can do parents of accounts and even grandparents of accounts. But on campaigns, you can also do that as well. So in my org, we had the 2022 campaign. So we could see all of the, in our organization, it was about giving, it was about fundraising. So we could see all of the giving that was happening. And then we could break it down onto the January campaign. And even in January, we could say, well, this is for our membership campaign, our major giving campaign, our special financing campaign, our stadium campaign. Like we could have special things under that. So we could have those umbrellas of those hierarchies,
Mhm.
even inside of those opportunity groups, which were our campaigns.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And the other thing, nice thing is then you can compare, why was this campaign better than that campaign? Or, well, you could ask those questions, but you could see the numbers around them.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can also track costs on those campaigns too.
So I'm gonna throw out my favorite word of
Yeah.
SIPOC, and while we're solving the problem of I need an umbrella, go bigger. So once you've got an umbrella, are there contacts, activities, things being tracked to that umbrella representation? Are you doing roll-ups or forecasting, or like go bigger than just connecting your opportunity to a grandparent? And because that might help answer other questions too. It might lead you right back to the same answer, but think bigger.
Yeah, that's good advice, because I can actually see that umbrella having contacts and, other things. I guess like an association, right? Whatever. The American Dental Association, right? Like it has staff and we might need to track that. So,
Yeah, and
all right.
if you do go the custom object for the grandparent, I guess in this case, you would probably still need to make an additional junction object if it's going to be many to many, right? So
Yeah.
just a consideration. Sort of like campaign members.
Okay, thank you. So there's no little pull down I can check off and then that will solve it.
You did it. You called us, and we all want help.
You can
Yes,
use
you did.
Genie.
Thank you.
Genie will solve it in real time.
That was the next question.
Yeah,
Was-
very nice transition there, Andrew.
Yeah. Genie versus
It's-
CDP and the rough cost. Anyone?
If you have to ask, you probably can't afford it.
That's probably true, but I just really want to know because I can't get it from our AE who also can't figure it out. And then proceeded to tell me that Genie's a part of Sales Cloud Unlimited, which I guess is now true because with Unlimited you get what is it, conversational insights, which they're now calling powered by Genie, which was Einstein, which I don't even know if there was any Einstein like to it. So
Yeah, that's the way I'm hearing it. Is Genie is just CDP with Einstein and additional data connections. So, but there's more and more trails hitting ever since Dreamforce that are filling in gaps there. I can probably answer better.
so nobody's got an idea of cost wise, like that they've seen or heard rumors of even.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Sorry. We have 5 minutes
2
left,
years.
Sarah, to cover enhanced domains.
Woohoo.
But you do what you can. We've got it set up in all but one production instance. Like all our sandboxes are covered. I've got one production instance left. And I'm really not looking forward to it. So I'm listening.
I guess my two biggest concerns are we have Experience Cloud, and I think there's a lot of links in our Experience Cloud pages that are just hard coded in HTML, and I'm probably going to have to go fix all those, right?
Yes.
Manually. And then the other one, oh, I just blanked on it. The other big concern. I don't even remember. Never mind.
Hmm.
I mean, I already got clarification that if external users have bookmarks to our current Experience Cloud site, those will redirect for some amount of time. But we should also probably do some communication about updating your bookmarks to the new site once we've deployed. Oh, I remember my other question, which is along the lines of redirects. We have a my domain that I originally set up as sort of an internal my domain. So it says CDSS office. I don't want that going on my Experience Cloud site because it looks weird and people will be like, why is it the office website? I don't understand. So I saw that the recommendation is to, if you're going to change your my domain, do it at the same time you turn on enhanced domain for the redirect. Is that that's
Yes,
correct?
correct.
my sandbox obviously has already been enforced with winter 23. So if I update the my domain in my production, will that make it so that my sandboxes don't redirect? Like, what's that relationship? Does that make sense?
Sandboxes don't update in any way based on the configuration of prod.
Okay.
So if you make a change in prod
Yep.
that somehow changes your my domain, the sandbox will have to be refreshed.
Okay. So it'll only be when I refresh that it'll change the my domain in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
The consideration doc covers a lot of the expected outcomes. I'm sure you went through that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When we did ours, the only thing we saw was a combination of the bookmarks and cached links, and then obviously any sort of internal self-referential URLs, like anything coded, which is unfortunate. But did I hear someone else had, was it Diane, were you saying you were having challenges?
Yes, so, and this could be related to people bookmarking, but we turned it on over the weekend that we took the upgrade. And that Monday at around 10 o'clock, I started getting flooded with, I can't get into the community. And so we turned it off. But not until after I got on the phone with Salesforce. It was really weird. People were getting, when they went to log in, they would say password is invalid. And these people have been logging in forever. And if there was only one person saying my password is invalid, I'd go, yeah, right. But it was like 73 people. So I knew that there was a problem. And then when they clicked the forgot password, it sent them a link, an email with a link in it, but the link took them back to the login page and not a password reset page. And we're still having that problem today. And I've logged a case, Salesforce has a case logged for it. We've been working all week with them on it.
Well, and I think, although I don't want to assume anything, but it all has to do with whether your login URL isn't actually accurate. It's not going to take you to the right spot, because if you're just guessing at URLs, like as a hacker or a denial of service type org, you would think it'd be smart enough to send you where you want it to go, but it's trying to protect you, maybe.
I don't know. I did have one user, send us an email saying, hey, this redirected. Is that something you guys did?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, that's something that we intentionally did. And I was like, yay, because that was like the first email I got. And I was like, yes, it's working. And then like an hour later, we just started getting flooded with, I can't log in. So we turned it off, and we've been working with Salesforce, like I said.
Yeah.
This, I think we're at time already. And so this is maybe a topic for another time, but I was also curious about custom domains, especially for experience sites, so that instead of having to deal with, okay, someday down the line, Salesforce changes the domains again, and if anybody used custom domains and how that works with, like, if we have a separate website that is cdss.org, and we also have a Salesforce Experience Cloud site, that they're separate, but can we use the cdss.org domain for the Experience Cloud site? And then just like some advice about how to do that. Andrew's nodding, so maybe I'll just chat with him.
Yeah, if you want to just mess around Slack, I can show you how to set up. I have no clue what the impact is on my domains though. Like I get the annoying pop-up all the time, but you can set it so you can use like a subdomain of, like, if you want like portal dot whatever cds whatever .org, you can set that up. And I was kind of hoping that would solve a lot of the issues, because then like you're not beholden. I have no clue what the impact of my domains is for us either. I'm just kind of waiting to see what breaks when I finally enable it on like a Monday morning.
No, Friday afternoon, Andrew.
Monday, because then I have a week to fix it.
I know, I'm joking. All right, thanks, y'all.
Yeah, come back. I'm sure people are going to want to know more. And I saw Jane posted something right before the 2 o'clock window. We should circle back to that as well. So I'll capture that for the next meeting.
Yeah, if I hear anything, I'll post it in the MVP community.
Cool, thank you. And if anybody hears anything about Genie, do the same. Help Andrew out.
Yeah. All right. We are at time. Thank you, everybody. Always a fun time. Have a great weekend. We will see you all in 2 weeks and hope you all be well.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.